Hello friends, I'm Jana Eubank for Hip Kit Club, and I am so excited to be cracking into my March 2023 hip kits and starting off with this very first layout using one of the March cut files. The cut file I'm going to be working with today is the oval wreath plus florals. I'm also going to be using the Love You file from February, so be sure to check both of those out. Now I'm also going to be featuring the March color kit, the stamp in this kit actually, and it is low in stock already at the time of voicing this over, so if you want that one, be sure to go check it out and grab one for yourself. Now, I started off cutting out the oval wreath and florals die cut with cut file with some black cardstock, and then I used some white paint to splatter all over it just to give it some more interest. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be choosing one background for my layout that I want to place this cut file on. And now just a little disclaimer, my carpets throughout my entire house were being cleaned by carpet cleaners while I was working on this layout. So my cat Phoebe is hanging out with me today, and you're going to see her make several appearances, but hopefully she's not too distracting. Hopefully it's just a little cute factor, right? To shake things up a bit. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to back this cut file using the cardstock solids from the cardstock kit. I used the Mango Puff, which is the orange color, to back the center of the flowers, and I'm going to back all of the actual part of the flowers with taffy, which is the pink cardstock. So I'm just dotting the glue along the back of the cut file, along the edges, and then I'm going to place these papers over the top of the part of the cut file, and then I'll carefully snip around them with my scissors. This will take a few minutes, and I do most of this off of camera because it does take some time. So I have a little fun story to tell you. Now, while I was cutting this cut file, I stopped my camera and then I just sat down on the floor to work around snipping around all of these flowers. And for whatever reason, my cat Phoebe just wanted to play circus animal, I guess. And my husband came into the room and she all of a sudden jumped through the oval wreath cut file while it was in my hands and goes taking off out down the hallway. Granted, this is wet carpet all throughout our house because she just got startled with my husband coming in the room. So she had the oval wreath cut file around her neck, and I sent my husband after her, just chasing her to make sure it didn't get ruined. And thankfully, it didn't get torn or ruined. So this little piece of paper had quite the adventure. Anyway, back to the process video. After backing the florals, I'm also going to back the center of the oval part with the Write Me a Letter pattern paper. Now, as I adhered that to the paper, I was being pretty strategic about it because I wanted to save those sketchy black and white florals that were around the edges of that paper. I went ahead and fussy cut those florals out, and then I'm going to actually adhere them around the oval cut file to just build out those floral clusters a bit more. Now at this point, I'm using the Simple Connections paper, that's the purple watercolor paper, as my background, but I'm kind of going back and forth between what side I want to use. I loved the other side of it as well that has this pink watercolor and the black dashed lines across it, and I was like, well, maybe I want to do this side. So I am building the florals on this side, but I'm adhering the flowers to the back of the cut file so the whole oval can be used. It's not adhered down to this paper. So after I get all those florals in place, I decide that although I love this side of the paper, I am going to go with the purple watercolor side because it just helps those black and white flowers stand out a bit more. So I'll just take a minute to arrange all these, and then I'm going to adhere them, and I will spare you that part. Again, Phoebe's hanging out with me, just checking out what's going on, and hopefully she's not going to ruin any more of my take off with any more of my supplies. No, she's been really good. So now I'm ready to add my photos, and I'm adding these 2 square photos. These are 3-inch photos, and this is kind of a unique memory. My parents really love to instill in their grandkids and my kids and all their cousins the importance of our ancestors who have passed on. So we like to go visit their headstones and in the cemetery. And this was actually Easter weekend. And after we went to an Easter lunch together, they said, okay, let's all go take some flowers over to the graveyard. And so we did that. And so these are just some snapshots of the kids standing in front of their great grandparents' headstones. So that is what this layout is about today. Now I'm going to map my photos also on some of the plain cardstocks, and I'm going to use the purple color that's called macaroon. And I just love how this ties into the background paper and also just adds a pop of fun color. So we're going to go ahead and get that set into place, and then we'll keep moving along. Now I'm pulling in the embellishment kit. I really have been loving playing with chipboard frames lately, so I'm going to add pieces of these frames around these two photos to just build them out a bit more and to add some dimension and interest. So I'm going to select the pink, the green, and the bright pink frames from the set that's in the embellishment kit and just layer these together and build some interesting layers around the photos. And I really love the way that this looks. So I'll just take a minute to do that and you can watch the process. Now I did want the green frames to be in a visual triangle, and you'll see how I do that next. This large one poking out from the left, I'm thinking that I'm going to anchor either my title here or my journaling. And then the other part of it I'm using on the right hand side just so that there's a visual triangle of that green color all the way around those two photos. Now, I really like this capture the moment phrase from the chipboard set, and the chipboard was, I believe that's included in the main kit, but I'm not totally set on it. I feel like it's not big enough to have a lot of impact, and so I'm looking around throughout all the other embellishments looking for another title to see if one will work. But since this is at the cemetery, phrases about a beautiful day, or life is beautiful, or all those or living my best life just kind of seem a little off for the memory. And so I'm going to end up going to a cut file. Now, while I'm pondering that, deciding what to do with that title, I come across these butterflies in the sticker book, which is part of the embellishment kit. The sticker book has some thin paper. Those sticker books are actually meant for like planners and journaling, and so the paper is a little bit thinner. So I wanted them to have a little bit of a thicker or a die cut feel. So I placed those all on some plain white cardstock, and then I fussy cut them out just so that they are more like a die cut. Now here's where I fixed my title issue. I went to the February cut files, and this cut file called Love You is actually a freebie. So if you're not a subscriber yet, you could try out the freebie cut files, and I just used a portion of this cut file, and which is the word love, to use as my title. And I love the font. I'm sure that is hand scripted by Kim. It's so beautiful, and so I'm going to use that here on this page, and it works out great. So I'm pulling in the pink, the green, and the blue butterflies to sprinkle around this page. Phoebe, of course, is saying hello and wants a little snuggle for a second, just a little pat, a little attention, and then she's off to the other corner of my desk. And so I'll just continue placing those butterflies. You can also see, I think I was talking during this part, I also added one of the stickers from the 12 by 12 cardstock sticker that was in the main kit, the ticket sticker actually under the left side of the bottom photo. Just to complete this title, I'm going to add one of the phrase stickers below the word love so that the title will read Love This Moment. Now, as I was looking for other phrases or items that I might add around the photos, I went to the Pocket Life kit and found the cards in there, and I decided, you know what, I want to add this black and white polka dot card under the right edge of this photo. So I do take a minute to grab my undo to undo all of the chipboard frames and the photos, and I'll just spare you that, and place that under the left side. And I'm really glad I did. I just feel like that tied in, the black and white polka dots tied into the black and white sketchy flowers, and it looks great. So I'm just replacing everything back the way I had it. We'll put those butterflies back into place, and I just shortened that so you didn't have to watch that whole process. Now, my journaling I created on my computer using just a typewriter font, and then I placed it or cut it out on little strips, and I'm just going to add that there inside of that green chipboard frame. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the color kit for March is low in stock already. So if you love this stamp, then you need to go grab it. It's awesome. It has brush strokes, but for this one, I'm going to be using this little ink blot stamp. And I stamp it around in a few places, and then I decide to actually cut the stamp apart so that I can have more control. Right now I'm just using a piece of cardstock to kind of block out the stamps that I don't want to stamp down, but I eventually do cut apart the stamp just so I have all those little blots in their own little pieces, and then I have more control into placing them into the corners of things, and also it helps me to add variety to the shapes of all the different ink blots. So I'll go ahead and let you watch this for a minute. While you're watching, I just wanted to mention one benefit of these stamps is that if you are nervous about doing mixed media, even with the ink splatters and the ink blots, right, like I'm doing here, these stamps will probably be for you because it gives you more control into where you place things. You know, mixed media is always a guessing game because you never know how that paint is going to splatter or just how things are going to dry. And so stamping them with images like this gives you more control, and also you can see or kind of test where things go ahead of time. You can cut out the images and place them around the page before you actually stamp them to see what it looks like. And so I really enjoy that part of these stamps, and I'm excited to use them. Now, as I stamp these, I did get carried away. I had a lot of fun putting them everywhere. And in fact, I even do some second generation stamping. Which is where you add the ink to your stamp and then you stamp off the first bold image and then you stamp it again before re-inking it so that the ink is a bit lighter, and I really like that look. Now, you remember at the beginning of my whole process video, I did splatter white paint onto that black cut file, and so after I get all of my stamping done with this ink blot stamp, I do cover up my page and I will sprinkle some more white paint across these ink blots. And as I do that, I really like the way that the white paint looks over the black ink blots. And so I even like dot some on, and I don't show this on camera. I thought my camera was still going, but it had actually ended. My battery ran out. And so I will like dot some of that white paint right on top of the ink blots, and then I kind of pat it off with a paper towel. And this adds like a muted gray effect to those ink blots. And so be sure to check that out when you see the detailed video or shots at the end right here. Okay, my friends, I had a blast creating this layout for you today using the March 2023 Hip Kits. Some of them are already sold out, so be sure to go grab your favorites soon. My name is Jana Eubank for Hip Kit Club. We'll see you next time.